This video was sponsored by Squarespace. I may have spent a little bit too much money on Christmas presents this year, so I don't have a ton of money left to spend on home decor items, but my house is still in desperate need of stuff on the walls. So I want to make something like this, or maybe like this, but I want it to be round. I picked this mirror up used for €5, and I don't know exactly how I'm going to get the tiles to fit around it, but I'm gonna figure it out. So I feel like the best way to do this would be to not use square tiles, because what I don't want is huge gaps of grout. If I chose to not do square tiles, it would be a lot of math. It's almost the end of the year. I'm just tired. I don't wanna do that. So either we do grout in a complementary color or grout in a color that kind of fades. And I think the smaller the tile, the better it's gonna look. These are 3 centimeters. Should we go for 2? These would be some tiny, tiny tiles. I'm thinking 2 centimeter tiles. I think that will look more craft and not crafty, if you know what I mean. But that's gonna be a lot of tiles. Okay, we're committing to that. "74 tiles should do the first row. And then I'm going to do the amount of this times 1.5 to get the second row, 111. So then 111 plus 74 is 185 tiles. That's a lot of tiles. That's a lot of tiles. But this time I'm going to do not this. I'm gonna show you guys the easy way to make tiles. These tiles had a bevel, and that was a ridiculous project. This, we're gonna take it easy, we're going to chill. We're just going to do a measly 185. Maybe a couple extra, just in case. Let's call it 200. Let's call it 200. We're gonna make 200 flat, simple, 2 centimeter tiles. So what I'm going to show you is the way that I like to make tiles, and what I believe to be the easiest way to make tiles. Now my slabs have dried to leather hard, so this is the perfect time to cut them out to get nice, clean, crisp lines. The reason we didn't do this before is because you can't really get those precise lines when the clay is so wet. So all I need is a straight edge, a ruler, and an X-Acto knife. The X-Acto knife doesn't even have to be that sharp. This is pretty dull, but it's fine for cutting through clay. So I do feel like I'm cheating a little bit with this project because I do have a ceramic studio in my basement. I'm not including the cost of the clay and obviously the kiln because these are things that I already have. But I will say, clay is quite cheap and tiles is something that's really good for, you know, you can hand build them at your kitchen table and then they're very portable so you can just take them somewhere to be fired. So I'm a huge fan of renting a kiln. I've talked about this before. Y'all don't need to buy a kiln. There are plenty of opportunities to rent one, and I spent the first 2 years of my pottery career without owning my own kiln. So there's lots of possibilities. I have a whole video on my perspectives about renting kilns, so I will link that down below. But there is an international kiln database that I'll also link down below that has collected basically like addresses of local potters, people who are willing to rent out their kiln to hobbyists. So I will have that link down below. It's called Kiln Share. It's an awesome resource. So don't use not having a kiln as an excuse. You can also get into ceramics if you want to, but you probably want to because it's awesome. Let's take a little break to talk about today's sponsor, Squarespace. If you've never heard about Squarespace before, they're a website that you can go to create your very own personal website. I've been using Squarespace pretty much ever since I started my online business, and I'm still using them for my website today. There's a few things that I love about Squarespace, one of which is their online shop where you can sell physical or digital products, just like I do with my printable pottery templates. 2, there are so many beautiful website templates that you can choose from, and they are also extremely flexible, so you can customize them to fit your very own brand. And 3, you can cultivate a community with their members area, where you can sell membership to exclusive sections of your website. So head to squarespace.com right now for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/potterytothepeople for 10% off your first website or domain. Now let's get back to the video. Okay, we have more than enough tiles. I've got a whole nother board here. Plenty of tiles. So the issue that we're facing now is that these edges are quite sharp. You know, you could leave your tiles like this if you wanted to, but let's make them a little bit nicer. For this, we just need a little bowl of water and a sponge, and I'm just going to round the edges with my sponge. Now, I would highly recommend using a non-grogged clay if you want to do this, because a sponge pulls out the finer particles of clay and it leaves the larger particles behind, which makes your clay a little bit like grainy. If you're finding that your clay is doing that, it's probably because you're sponging it too much or getting it too wet. Somehow the water is washing away those finer particles of clay. So because I knew I was going to use this technique, I chose a non-grogged clay. As you can see, I'm just kind of patting the edges and smoothing them out. I want to time how long it takes me to do one of these tiles. And then we can figure out how long this is all gonna take. Am I ready? Okay. 7 seconds. 7 seconds per tile. Okay. With 420 tiles, it's gonna take 49 minutes to get through this all. That's actually not as bad as I thought, so let's get to work. It took about an hour, not too bad. I definitely have too many tiles, but if I don't use them for this, I can just use them for something else. That's so satisfying. After all that work, all we have to do now is let them dry out. Now, we do not want to have warped tiles, so I'm going to dry them out under weight. I'm just putting down some newspaper to protect them, and that will also absorb some of the water. And then this is gonna go on the shelf with some weights. Tiles are bisqued. They look like a tiny little city. I have a feeling that I made way more tiles than I need for this project, and so I want to quickly lay them out before I glaze them so that if I have extras, I can, save them for a different project and glaze them whatever color I want. So let's lay them out. Okay, I actually have so many tiles left, so that was really worth doing. Also, I'm questioning my color decisions. So this whole time I had been planning to do my classic blue. This is a blue that I use for so many of my projects. I think you can't go wrong with this cobalt. But now I'm wondering, should I do different colors? Like one for the inside, one for the outside? I could do another. I have a black mat as well. Kind of thinking two colors right now. Like, they're both matte, so they would go together. There's not a huge amount of contrast. This is the black I used for those snake planters, if you remember those. Worked out really well on those. It is definitely a risk testing it on tiles though, because tiles tend to perform a little differently. My gut is telling me do both colors right now, but I don't know if this is my too much gene. Let's just do it. Let's do two colors. So there's a few different ways to glaze tiles. I'm gonna show you guys my favorite way. There's no way to glaze tiles, at least 100,000 tiny little tiles without any kind of crazy machinery. So my aim here is to minimize the amount of removal of the glaze that I have to do. I just dunk them halfway. However, the thing that you have to watch out for when you're doing it this way is you might need to do 2 layers of glaze, because immediately, as this is sitting here, you're not like agitating the clay as you dunk like a whole mug in or something, like that kind of mixes the clay as you're doing it. It's just sitting flat and you're just interacting with the very, very top layer. So all these particles are gonna keep falling down, which means I have to keep stirring. So every little bit, I'm just gonna agitate the clay again. I figured out the technique. Clean fingers, grab the tile. Dirty fingers, dip, like glazy fingers, dip. Then these two are my dirty fingers, flip, set down. Okay, all the blacks are glazed. I think it's actually fine to just do 1 layer, because the black has been sitting in my hot glaze room for months and months, like being unused. So I think it's fine to just do 1 layer. I'm going to be very strategic about wiping these. Instead of just wiping them and putting them back down, I'm gonna put them on a board so I don't have to pick them all up later and put them on a board. With this board, I can transfer them into the kiln. Black tiles are done. Let's move on to the blue tiles. The contrast is definitely subtler than I expected it to be. The blue didn't turn out super blue. I haven't done enough experimenting yet to figure out what makes it look like this one, because this is obviously much more blue than this. I don't know yet if I'm disappointed with the results, because it really just depends on the whole piece. So let's put this together. Since I'm trying to spend as little money as possible, I'm hoping to find some wood that I can use in my stash. It's not the most ideal piece of wood for this project. I would prefer plywood, but it is thick enough, and this is just a piece of an old wardrobe that we had. It's particle board. I think this should work, and I really love the idea of taking this trash and making it into something nice for our home. It's definitely far from perfect, but I'm gonna give it a little sand and it should work. I'm feeling very proud of myself right now, because I did not forget that I needed to add a hook to the back. And because it's particle board, the screws need to go pretty deep. So I'm gonna do that now so I don't disturb any tileage later on. Now comes the moment we've all been waiting for. Let's add the tiles and the mirror. So I mean, it's already looking freaking cool, huh? To glue these down, I'm using PVA glue. And I know what you're thinking, Maya, this is just a crafts glue. It can't possibly be strong enough. This whole mural back here was made attached with PVA glue plus grout. It's what all the mosaic artists on the internet use. It's cheap, it's versatile, and for me, it was free because I already had this. Because this is veneer, or probably fake veneer, it's really smooth, so I'm just gonna rough it up with some sandpaper first. It's looking pretty secure. So my question now is black with a blue ring, like black on the inside or blue on the inside? That's my question now. And I had a plan before, but I don't remember what my plan was before. So now I just have to decide. I feel like blue on the outside is best. Okay, let's do it. Leaving a small gap for grout. And I need to make sure I don't get... Should I tape this? I should tape this probably. Okay. Let's try this again. It's totally perfect. That's insane. Both rows are perfectly completed rows. This is an accident. I didn't plan this. I thought it wasn't gonna work out. So you can see I did leave some gaps. These are the grout gaps, and I'm gonna fill those in with grout once this is dry. Okay, I'm back. I got grout, which cost me €9, and this paint, which was absolute theft, at €8. This tiny, tiny little thing of paint cost me €8. It's done. I'm so excited. An absolute beauty. I have nothing to say. This is just... It turned out so much better than I thought. What the heck? Look at the tiles. I love it. And I love the black grout. The black grout looks friggin' awesome. And guess what? I didn't even need to use that expensive paint because I was able to stain the edges with the grout. And it looks fine. I'm so happy with my tile mirror. I hope that you guys are loving it just as much as I am. The grand total for this project was 14 euros. So I paid 5 euros for the mirror secondhand, and then for the grout, I had to pay 9 euros. I didn't end up using that overpriced paint, so that's going back to the store. I'm really happy about that. So if you like this video and you're interested in more tile pottery projects, you might enjoy this video next. This video is my tile mosaic project. It's an epic project. I also beveled the tiles, so you get some more three-dimensionality with the tiles. These tiles are easy. Those tiles are kind of like intermediate level tiles if you wanna give that a shot. So check out this video next. Bye, friends.